Hello everyone, I'm Bart here, and welcome to another movie review. After doing the first Star Wars film, A New Hope, I figured that I might like to continue on with, well, the rest of the original trilogy. And yes, I'll do the VHS version like the last one. And surprisingly, it's the first Star Wars film I remember seeing. But does it still hold up like the first film? Well, let's find out with Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. After the Rebels defeated the Empire by destroying the Death Star, they reside at the snow-covered planet Hoth, since the Empire is now in pursuit of them, with Darth Vader being in command. Soon the Rebels are spotted and the Empire attack their base, in which the Rebels retreat and search for a new base in the galaxy. Yet Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 end up going to the planet Dagobah, because Luke had a vision of Obi-Wan telling him to go there and be trained by a Jedi Master named Yoda, who taught Obi-Wan. And on Dagobah, Yoda ends up teaching Luke the ways of the Force, despite him saying he's too old. And while that's going on, Han Solo, Leia Organa, Chewbacca, and C-3PO try to hide from the Empire that's chasing them, and take shelter at the planet Bespin, home of Cloud City and Han's best friend, Lando Calrissian, who ends up betraying the visitors by handing them to Vader and bounty hunter Boba Fett. And Luke, while still in training, decides to go to Cloud City to save his friends, while Vader plans to set a trap for him, and even has an interest in wanting him. Many people consider this to be one of the best sequels, and even the darkest of the original trilogy. But I wouldn't go that far. I mean, yes, it is dark in many places, and it's a good sequel, but at times the dark parts of it is kind of underwhelming. Now, don't get me wrong, as a kid, I found the many moments in this film pretty intense, and a bit scary too. Nowadays, it's pretty tame. Heck, the first 20 minutes takes place on Hoth, a snow-covered planet, and there's nothing about the color white that remotely makes it dark, except in this film's case. Although the scenes in Cloud City when the Empire arrives is very much a metaphor for hell. And yeah, George Lucas himself said that the second act of a play is usually when things go wrong for the heroes. So being that this is the second part of the original trilogy that has things go wrong, it makes sense. But once again, it's not as dark as it should be. Yet the effects are better than the last film, though not by much. Okay, many of the effects have gotten better from the last film, like the space scenes and whatnot. But there are one or two effects that look and feel off to me, mostly with the AT-AT walkers in the Hoth battle. Yeah, they did look cool when I first saw them, and even the practical bits are good. But now the stop motion for them look more like Rankin Bass characters in their movement, not much weight and kind of clunky. Even when there's moments of cutting back and forth between the rebellions and walkers. And one walker takes a small sidestep. That's pretty unbelievable for a transport of this size. But even if it looks dated, it's still kind of cool to see. The hologram of the Emperor, well fine, looks very off to me. I mean, what on earth am I looking at? The design of his face looks so ugly and bizarre, and the eyes look very unpleasant. At least the special edition version made it more defined, but here, it's just unpleasant to look at. But if some of the effects aren't working well, then surely the characters are working just fine. There's some more development with the old characters that make them enjoyable a little more each time. Han has become more sarcastic and boisterous. His relationship with Leia is often negative, yet they do have a likable chemistry together. Luke became more aware of his ability to use the Force and has more of a responsibility to do the right things, despite Yoda keeping him from making wrong moves. And Vader has become an obsessive hunter for not only the rebellions, but more for Luke. And there's even a few good scenes which when one Imperial Admiral fails Vader's commands, he chokes them, possibly to death, and promotes an Imperial Captain to Admiral. As for the new characters, they're pretty good. Yoda's a fun character, being the wise master that has similar qualities to that of a Japanese martial artist trainer in most animes. Starting off as being pretty goofy to his future trainee, then he shows his true self after Luke refuses to be patient in front of him. And many of the lines he speaks have a simple feel to them, with very few words as possible that anyone can get and understand. Lando Calrissian, while having to betray his good friend to help the Empire with a deal that Vader keeps changing, does have a heart when trying to save his friends. And he is pretty suave when he's friends with Han, and Han's relationship with Lando is kind of irresistible and fascinating. I would love to see a Star Wars film centered around them, especially Han, based on how much everyone knows him within this film. And Boba Fett is one character that, outside of Vader, is another good villain in the Star Wars universe. Yet somehow a lot of people like this character despite how little he appears in the film, and I myself don't get the attraction for him. But nonetheless, he's still a good character, with little to no backstory. And let's go over the biggest moment in all of the Star Wars films, the climax that reveals who Darth Vader really is. As much as I like to keep this bit spoiler-free, I feel that it should be addressed, since I'll be getting into Return of the Jedi soon, and I think everyone already knows about it. So here's what it is and my thoughts on it. After fighting with Darth Vader for a while, Luke gets his hand cut by Vader's lightsaber, and moves away as Vader pleads with Luke to join the dark side. And when Luke said that Vader killed his father, Vader replies by saying that he is Luke's father, which puts Luke in a huge state of denial. Now, as a scene alone, it is considered one of, if not the best scene in the whole film. It really caught people off guard for being a twist that nobody saw coming, and it was kind of daring for the filmmakers to do this, even with the frequent discussions over it. But for me, when I first saw it, I wasn't at all shocked by this reveal. Okay, the scene was intense for me back then, especially when Luke loses his hand, but Vader revealing to be Luke's father really didn't hit me very well. Maybe because this was the first Star Wars film I saw, and when seeing A New Hope next, it still didn't make an impact on me. And it's weird to have a villain such as Vader openly acknowledge this when all he did is try to find him and fight him. Yet everyone still remembers this scene and everyone knows who Vader is. And it really shouldn't be kept a secret when the remaining films do state this. So overall, it's not a bad scene. It just didn't grab me at first. Now I've already gone over the cast in the first film, but let's look at the new characters which the actors playing them did pretty good. Billy D. Williams plays Lando Calrissian, Frank Oz performs Yoda, Jeremy Bulloch plays Boba Fett, John Hollis plays Lando's aide, or Lobot as he's also known, and Clive Revell voices the Emperor. As a whole, this movie is good. The characters are well done, the story is pretty good, and the effects are pretty enjoyable. Director Irving Kershner has done a pretty good job of continuing the first film, and doing it in such a dark way. Though while I feel the dark aspects of the film pretty tame and certain effects not working, the overall film is still nice to watch as either a standalone film or even a continuation. And as far as Star Wars films go, it's a good enough sequel, with its nice action scenes, more great music, better effects, and more scenes of Vader of course. Though not as grand as A New Hope, it's still worth watching for what it's got. So today, this movie we get a rating of 3 stars. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and tune in next week for a new video.